teachers can have 24/7 access to their targets.
The classroom isn't limited to four walls.
Social media adds another dimension. I think our teachers have to be very, very careful.
As parents, we're mandated to send our children to school, and by golly, we want our schools to be mandated to protect our children while they're there.
The moment that bell rings, your student steps into their school for one reason: to get an education. And on the front line are invaluable teachers.
99% plus of our teachers behave in a very moral and ethical manner.
We entrust them with our children, but sometimes that trust is taken advantage of.
We know how serious this issue is, but how prevalent is it really in our schools?
It is of epidemic proportions. Educator sexual misconduct is one of the worst forms of child abuse that has gone unrecognized for decades.
Terry Miller is president of Sesame, Stop Educator Sexual Abuse, Misconduct, and Exploitation. She joined us on Skype from Las Vegas.
We have 1 in 10 children that are being affected by educator sexual misconduct between kindergarten and 12th grade. That amounts to approximately 5 million children in the United States today.
In North Carolina, teacher-student sexual relationships are against the law regardless of age. We started our investigation by compiling and digging through court records and found that in the past 5 years, teachers have been charged more than 700 times for sexual misconduct with students.
It wreaks havoc on their lives, their relationships, their emotional well-being. This is child sexual abuse and child rape.
Miller says most of it is unreported, but the number of teachers in North Carolina losing their teaching license sheds new light on the problem. That number has doubled over the past 10 years to nearly 800 teachers, and more than 50% were because of inappropriate relationships with students. We took the issue to State Superintendent June Atkinson.
School districts are becoming more and more diligent in reporting those offenses.
But social media is blurring the lines between student-teacher boundaries.
You know of any teachers who have personal Facebook pages who are friends with students?
Yes, I do.
So is it pretty common?
Yeah.
Pretty common. They interact with us through Twitter, Facebook.
Students think that their teachers should be a really close relationship when in reality it's just school and that's it.
Social media should be used for improving learning of students, not necessarily for making friends with students.
Is there a state policy for all school districts to abide by?
No, there's not a state policy. We depend on our school districts to develop those policies and also to enforce those policies.
Are schools required to have a policy?
No, it's not a requirement at the moment.
Our goal was to go above and beyond to make sure our kids and our staff were protected.
Lee County Schools was one of the first to put a policy into action, banning teachers from directly interacting with students on any social media site, with only 2 exceptions: if they're family, or they can use a school monitored system called Homebase.
The purpose of the interaction should be educational based. There's no need to talk about other things. And I think if you look at some of the previous cases that have occurred, many of the cases developed with a very innocent beginning that developed over time on social media to a much bigger issue.
When you're not face to face with a child, the boundaries are skewed.
You're a teacher 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the rights of the students are protected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So even when you're on your own social media, you need to be real cautious with things that are stated.
Miller says the problem isn't just punishing offenders, it's keeping them out of the system.
One of the reasons that educator sexual abuse is so prolific is this practice of passing the trash, where they allow a predator to quietly resign amidst allegations of sexual offense and move on to another school system.
Something Atkinson says they're working on improving. The state is creating a new online database of teachers whose license have been revoked and making license application questions more in depth. And as for social media, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. The question is, are schools able to keep up with the ever-changing technology to make sure teachers don't exploit their role?
Regardless of whether that's 1 teacher or whether it is 100 teachers, we need to move as quickly as possible